ওখানে কি বাঁধ ভেঙে গেছে?
হ্যাঁ, নদী বাঁধ ভেঙে গেছে।
তো ওতে কি নোনা জল ঢুকে এসছে?
নোনা জল ঢুকে গেছে।
তো চাষের জমিতে কি নোনা জল এসছে?
হ্যাঁ, চাষের জমি এমনিতে পুকুর
পুকুর
সব
পুকুর
নোনা
মাছ
জল ভর্তি হয়ে গেছে।
ভর্তি হয়ে গেছে?
হ্যাঁ।
তো ওখানে তো আর চাষ করতে এখন অসুবিধা হবে তো?
হ্যাঁ,
হবে না, চাষ হবে না, আমাদের জায়গা জমি নেই,
চাষ হবে না।
সরকার থেকে কিছু হয়েছে ব্যবস্থা?
না, এখনো কিছু
কিছু ব্যবস্থা হয়
হচ্ছে হয়তো।
চেষ্টা
তাড়াতাড়ি
চলছে, যত
তাড়াতাড়ি।
তাড়াতাড়ি করা সম্ভব।
ঠিক আছে, তো তোমাদের ধান তো কাটা হয়ে গেছিল নাকি? বড় ধান তো
হ্যাঁ,
কাটা
ছিল। মুগ চাষ ছিল, সেইটাই
মুখগুলো
উঠে
ক্ষতি হয়ে
গেছে
গেছে।
total।
পুরো ধানটা উঠে গেছে, এরপরে যে বর্ষার ধানটা আর পাবো না।
মানুষ
আচ্ছা, তো
ভক্ত।
আপনারা কতদিন আর এই চাষ করতে পারবেন না, যেহেতু নোনা জল ঢুকে গেছে?
এখন এই যে সামনে যে ধান চাষ করতে পারবো না,
আচ্ছা, তারপরের চাষ হবে?
তারপরেরটা হয়তো
হলেও হতে পারে।
হতে হতে না হতে পারে, ওর ভরসা নেই।
যদি ওপর থেকে বৃষ্টি যদি হয় তাহলে সামনের দিকে হতে পারে, নচেত মানে এখন দুটো ফসল টোটাল বর্ষাটি।
Mrs. Armstead and her team had gone to the Cape Lord Pathar Pratima in Sundarbans, where for various reasons, relief work had been tardy. They made 220 packets which contained the following showing on your screen right now. Along with all that, they managed to purchase 200 tarpaulin sheets of good quality to repair the roofs of some of the houses. They also collected old shoes, usable clothes, and utensils from the housing complex they lived in. During their journey, they had to unload all the materials from the goods vehicle and then load them onto 2 launches. From the Domkol jetty, their destination was about an hour and 20 minutes away. There was sudden heavy rain that had slowed down the transfer of the materials from the goods vehicle to the boats, after which they were advised by the forest guards to divide the relief materials so that they could reach out to many more. The food materials were given to 220 families, while the clothes and the tarpaulins were given to 300 others, as the forest department had also procured about 100 sheets to donate. On the next day, when they arrived at the distribution spot, they found hundreds of villagers waiting for them patiently. The Panchayat had informed the other blocks to send in people who had lost their homes to come by ferries and collect the relief material from the distribution areas. They had successfully carried out a relief effort in the Sundarbans during a global pandemic.
All right, good evening. First and foremost, I would like to tell you people that this is not the first time that I have undertaken such a relief initiative. I did so even at the time when the previous super cyclone, Aila, had lashed the shores of the Sundarbans. In fact, at that point, we had even traveled to G Island or G Plot, which is one of the southernmost islands on the Indian side of the Sundarbans. During those relief efforts, I had seen how terribly the people there were affected. And this time around, it was definitely not going to be any better. So in the housing complex where I live, a few of the glass panes had broken. Some of the external structures were very badly damaged. And people were cribbing about the lack of electricity for a period of about 2.5 to 3 days. Though we had a diesel generator which was working constantly, at that time I was very uneasy because I kept thinking of the plight of the people in the Sundarbans, which is an area where it is disconnected land spots, islands, basically, because it's a delta region. And I kept thinking about how they would manage without electricity, not just for a few days, but maybe for months. So yes, it was this feeling of being very fortunate that actually made me come forward and decide that, we could sort of start some kind of a relief effort. And I approached my neighbors, and some of them were very enthusiastic. because they also felt that yes, we could put in our little bit in order to help out people who were definitely not as privileged as we are. All right, so one of the first things that I realized, even much before we reached our destination, was that the weather in this area, in this region, is very unpredictable. So when we reached there was blazing sunlight, and within about 20-25 minutes of us getting onto the launch and beginning our loading operations there, it began to rain very heavily. Suddenly the sky was overcast and it began to rain. And on speaking to the people there, we were made to understand that these are the vagaries of the weather that they have to live with constantly. There is definitely no control that anyone has over this, and the weather, or whatever cyclones lash against their shores, are things over which they have little or no control, and they live with this reality every day. So that was one of the things that I realized this time when I went. The other thing was that when we reached the spot where the distribution was to take place, I saw lines of people who were waiting very patiently with bags. Some of them had even left their bags with a stone kept on top of the bag, just so that they could come back and keep their place in the line. And when we spoke to some of the locals over there, they told us that relief was very, very slow in that area, and that prior to our visit only 2 groups had come, and they had not brought a lot of material. So most of them had to return empty-handed because the groups had exhausted everything that they had brought. As far as their condition is concerned, they were without electricity for 25 days. They had only received electricity maybe a day or 2 before we visited. When we went deeper inland, we saw how all the fields were sort of inundated with salt water, and that salt water had made all the crops rot, and there was the stench of rotting crops everywhere, and the water had even turned green, but obviously nothing could be done about it. The farmers in protest refused to allow that water to drain out because they are hoping against hope that some minister, somebody of a higher authority will come and see their plight and maybe build stronger and higher embankments for them. So it is like that. They are a very hardy and resilient lot of people. Definitely they have accepted this as part of their lot, and they are happy. They are not entirely unhappy with the circumstances that they live in. So that's one of the things that I learned from them, that you need to be happy with your lot. I think one of the things that we need to understand, and this is something that this time around I learnt, because the previous time when I went in the aftermath of the Aila super cyclone, I was not so aware or so conscious of the kind of ecosystem that the Sundarban provides. All right, the Sundarbans is absolutely essential to the existence of a city like Calcutta. So the mangrove forests of the Sundarbans actually arrests the force of the cyclone when it makes its landfall. If there is no Sundarban forest, if there is no mangrove forest, there will be no city left, because once that cyclone is not obstructed, once that cyclone comes directly and hits the city, there will be really nothing left for us to see the following day. So one of the things that I think students need to be very conscious of is the ecological necessity of the Sundarbans. And the other thing is that we need to be very, very conscious. We need to start planting more trees. We need to reverse this entire process of climate change that has happened. When I was very young, I remember the highest temperatures that we saw were 32 degrees Celsius, 33 degrees, never more than that. Today, the real feel is never less than 42 degrees. And I think that is something that we need to be worried and concerned about.
The Sundarbans is a cluster of low-lying islands in the Bay of Bengal spread across India and Bangladesh. It is famous for its unique mangrove forests. This active region, lying on the delta of the Ganga, Brahmaputra and Meghna rivers, is among the largest in the world, measuring about 40,000 square kilometers. It is known for its wide range of fauna, including 260 bird species, the Bengal tiger, and others. The Sundarbans is of crucial importance not only to shield us from natural disasters, but also to protect the biodiversity and geological features of the region and the livelihood of the people. The Sundarbans even resisted the Amphan before it went on to Kolkata and Bangladesh. Playing the role of a shield against the ferocity of Amphan, the dense forest full of various trees and bushes saved the coastal region from further destruction. We must take the highest measures possible to protect this unique forest and its diversity before it's too late.